Welcome to the WorldWire Update. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more updates and thrilling short scenes. On September 4, 2025, Elabel, Georgia woke to chaos as ICE launched a full-scale raid on Hyundai's new electric vehicle plant. Armed agents, military vehicles, drones, and helicopters descended on the site, turning a symbol of economic progress into a global spectacle. News cameras captured hundreds of workers, many highly skilled South Korean engineers, being shackled and loaded onto buses. In total, 475 workers were detained, including over 300 South Koreans brought in to install advanced machinery. The raid sent shockwaves through the business world and diplomatic circles, threatening billions in investment and straining U.S.-South Korea relations. The plant, once hailed as a cornerstone of American manufacturing revival, was now at the center of an international crisis. The administration's move contradicted its own economic goals, putting the entire project and America's reputation at risk. The fallout was immediate. Diplomats scrambled, markets trembled, and the president was forced to respond. What was meant to be a showcase of progress became a cautionary tale of chaos and broken trust. The raid exposed deep fractures in U.S. immigration policy and left a trail of uncertainty for foreign investors. It was a massive own goal, economic self-sabotage on a global stage. Before a single car rolled off the line, the plant became a symbol of how quickly progress can unravel. Hyundai's Meta plant in Georgia was a transformative investment, billions pledged to create a high-tech hub for electric vehicles and batteries. The project promised thousands of American jobs and a revitalized local economy, making it a model for foreign investment. The presence of South Korean engineers was essential. They brought expertise to install proprietary robotics and train American workers. These specialists, on short-term B-1 business visas, were filling a skills gap that would take years for the U.S. workforce to close. The plant was a flagship in a $350 billion U.S.-South Korea manufacturing partnership, recently cemented by a major tariff deal. Local communities buzzed with optimism as new suppliers and businesses sprang up around the project. Hyundai's investment was a win-win access to the U.S. market for Korea, jobs and technology for America. The Korean workers' presence was temporary but vital to the plant's success. The project was celebrated as a triumph of international cooperation until the raid shattered that vision. The dream of shared prosperity was suddenly in jeopardy. The raid didn't just disrupt a factory, it threatened the entire economic ecosystem built around it. What began as a promise of progress now teetered on the edge of collapse. The raid was a show of force. ICE agents in tactical gear, military vehicles, drones and helicopters overwhelming the Hyundai site. Workers were blindsided, their day interrupted by armed commands and chaos. 475 were detained, including 317 South Korean engineers and technicians, plus immigrant construction workers from Latin America. ICE claimed visa violations, citing union complaints that Korean specialists were doing basic construction work. The images were damning skilled engineers shackled and marched onto buses, a humiliation broadcast worldwide. The aggressive tactics raised questions. Was this about paperwork or politics? The raid halted critical work, sidelining the very experts needed to finish the plant. South Korea saw it as a profound insult. The U.S. government called it law enforcement. The scale and spectacle suggested a political statement, not just an immigration check. The fallout would be swift and severe, with consequences far beyond Georgia. The raid's message, even celebrated foreign partners could be treated as criminals overnight. President Trump initially defended the raid, insisting the workers were here illegally and dismissing their expertise. He doubled down on America First rhetoric, ignoring the diplomatic and economic fallout. But as backlash mounted and South Korea's $350 billion investment hung in the balance, the administration scrambled to contain the crisis. Trump's tone shifted dramatically. On social media, he suddenly welcomed skilled foreign workers, praising their role in training Americans. The U-turn was stark from hardline enforcement to desperate damage control. The contradiction was clear. America needed foreign expertise, even as it cracked down on it. The raid exposed the administration's internal conflict, economic ambitions clashing with immigration policy. Trump's reversal was an admission of error, but the damage was done. The world had already seen the images of shackled engineers. The administration's credibility was shaken, and trust with a key ally was fractured. The attempt to walk back the raid's impact rang hollow. America's message to foreign investors was now one of confusion and risk. South Korea's reaction was swift and furious. President Lee Jae-myung called the raid a betrayal, warning it could chill future investment in the U.S. The government launched an investigation into possible human rights violations, and public outrage erupted over the treatment of Korean engineers. U.S. diplomats scrambled to apologize, but the damage was done. Trust had evaporated overnight. The incident dominated headlines in Seoul, uniting lawmakers in condemnation. For South Korea, the raid was a national humiliation, especially after recent economic agreements. The sense of betrayal ran deep. A major commitment to the U.S. economy had been met with disrespect and aggression. The alliance, built on decades of cooperation, now faced a crisis of confidence. The raid sent a chilling message. Even top allies could be targeted by unpredictable U.S. policy. The diplomatic fallout was just beginning, but the wound to the relationship was deep. America's reliability as a partner was now in question. The raid put billions in investment and thousands of American jobs at risk. Hyundai's plans for EVs, batteries, and shipbuilding in the U.S. were suddenly in doubt. The message to global business America is unpredictable, even for its biggest investors. The timing was baffling, just weeks after South Korea pledged $350 billion to the U.S. economy. The raid jeopardized the administration's own economic achievements, undermining its manufacturing revival. International companies watched in alarm, questioning whether their investments could be next. The local Georgia economy, counting on the plant for jobs and growth, was left in limbo. The ripple effect threatened suppliers, small businesses, and entire communities. A single raid had the power to unravel years of progress and planning. America's reputation as a safe haven for investment was suddenly in doubt. The human cost was profound. Hundreds of skilled Korean engineers in Georgia to transfer knowledge were detained and humiliated. Their expertise was irreplaceable, and their detention halted the plant's progress. Most were held for a week, then sent home, vowing never to return. Advocacy groups and local leaders condemned the raid, stressing the workers' legal status and vital roles. The use of B-1 visas for short-term specialists is standard practice, not a loophole. The U.S. lost not just goodwill but the very talent needed to launch the factory. With the experts gone, the project stalled, its future uncertain. Only one worker reportedly stayed, the rest left, taking their knowledge with them. The empty factory floor became a symbol of lost opportunity. The raid drove away the talent America needs to compete. For Bryan County, the Hyundai plant was a beacon of hope, promising jobs, growth, and a new future. The raid shattered that optimism, halting construction and sending shockwaves through the local economy. Supplier companies, new housing, and small businesses all depended on the plant's success. The sudden standstill put their investments and jobs at risk. Local leaders and residents felt betrayed. They had welcomed Hyundai only to see federal action threaten their dreams. The raid also stoked social tensions, sweeping up Latin American workers and creating fear in immigrant communities. The economic ripples spread far beyond the factory gates, endangering the entire ecosystem built around the plant. The promise of prosperity was replaced by uncertainty and division. The community's faith in progress, and in Washington, was shaken. The once bright future now seemed fragile, clouded by the risk of a half-finished factory. Political decisions made far away had devastated local hopes overnight. The raid's legacy, a monument to broken promises in rural Georgia. The Hyundai raid left a lasting scar on America's reputation as a safe, stable destination for foreign investment. The incident shattered trust, showing that even government-backed deals could be upended by political whims. South Korea, a key ally, was left questioning the reliability of its partnership with the U.S. The humiliation and disregard for economic agreements will haunt future negotiations. Other investors took note. No deal is truly safe in America. The U.S. now faces a risk premium. Companies may demand better terms or look elsewhere. The raid undermined America's economic goals and global standing. It exposed a government divided against itself, where enforcement sabotages strategy. Repairing the damage will take more than apologies. It requires a new approach to balancing law, economics, and diplomacy. Without change, the image of shackled engineers will remain a warning to the world.